Jim, your third training camp with the Boston Bruins. What are your impressions and opinions coming out of the first few weeks? What have you seen?
I guess when I look at it, analyzing it myself, a lot more comfortable just because it's the third year, know the group really well, and know the pace of camp and how it should go. So even though we've had some, just being honest, stinker games in the exhibition, I don't worry about those stinker games. I worry about how we're progressing and how many of the things that we need to hit before we're a well-oiled machine Tuesday night.
So when you look at last year, it was a big transition year. Patrice to Brad Marchand, captain-wise. You're also transitioning in a bunch of new players last year. You still make some changes this year. But in terms of why that transition was as seamless as it was, what's the reason for that?
I think the reason is there's a confidence in how we do things and how we compete. And there's a standard that we hold each other accountable to. And when I say we, I think it's coaches, players, management, all in it together. And it's especially our core group of leaders: Marchand, Pasternak, McAvoy, Lindholm, Carlo, Zaka, and Charlie Coyle. Those six, they make the engine go, and when things aren't up to snuff, they either grab people and talk to them individually, or they kick the group in the butt.
But part of that predates you, right? And it predates some of these guys too. Like, so when you're talking about that getting instilled, this sort of, I don't want to call it a tradition of excellence, something like that. Like, there's a standard here that people are used to. So how that gets passed down, like, what was your first sense of that when you walked in the door?
I was in awe, just because, like, first day that I was here, and it was before camp started, and I remember sitting down with Patrice Bergeron and Marshy and just showing them a couple of things that I wanted to install and how we were going to play. And they sat down, they digested it, and they were like, I'm excited to work with that. And there's a positive acceptance of, we're going to try things out of our comfort zone to get better. If this is going to make us better, we're going to try it. And if it doesn't work, we're going to discuss it, and we're going to do something different.
Do you have any examples of that, of like how something that we might be able to point to, maybe just thinking a little bit outside the box or trying something new that might be uncomfortable to make your team better?
Well, I think I can give you an example on the ice. We went to a couple having rules in certain quadrants of the ice when we have the puck, especially, and that we thought would help our transition go faster. And it was new to them, and they looked at it and they just thought, well, this is going to make sense. And then we got off to a good start. So winning helps people accept everything a little bit easier, And then I think off the ice, it's been this. I remember asking the Patrice and Marshy again at the All-Star break. And I said, I want you guys to do homework on us coaches. I want feedback on what we can do better. And they came back and they had pointed things that they felt that it wasn't just they spent 2 minutes on it. They spent 2 hours investing in the team. And that's the thing, is the investment level in that standard of trying to get better.
So that push and pull, obviously really healthy. What was that like, though, getting some feedback that in some cases for you, you're used to doing things probably a certain way yourself. You've been in the game a long time. To get some feedback yourself, to then say, okay, I'm asking my players to do the same. I've got to evaluate, what they're bringing to me the same as well.
Yeah, I think being open-minded and understanding that you don't have all the answers, I think, is a strength of mine. And even though you may not like what you're hearing, perception is reality, and that's what the players are receiving the information, or that's how they think I could be better or our staff could be better. And it's all in the goal of us getting better as a group. It's easy for me to digest that and try and make changes.
How different of a coach are you today than when you got here?
I think I'm a much better coach today than when I got here, just because of working with these players and these leaders and working with Don Sweeney. He's a brilliant, and anyone will say, I don't know if the guy sleeps, but he thinks of things at angles that I never thought of. As a coach, you're in the now, and when you're a manager, you're in the now and future. And I think he looks at things from all different angles, where I'm a little more microscopic, and it helps me keep my mind open.
What are your post-game conversations like?
After wins, they're all knuckling up.
Yeah, I bet they're awesome. But even on a tough night,
Even on
it's
a
probably
tough
pretty
night,
fun to be around to just, hey, how can we grind to get better?
Yeah, it is. That's the attitude. But I think, we're all extremely competitive. So we try and keep those conversations after tough games to the next day, because your emotions out of it. Now you're being more using your analytical mind instead of your emotional part of it.
Okay, so we talked a little bit about your leadership group and that transition. How do you think Brad handled that from his perspective, wearing the C?
I think he put a lot of pressure on himself, just because how much he cares about the Bruins and the Spoke B. Now, after that, I saw a change in him. Like, he was good, but he was worried about being perfect until Christmas. And I remember when we came back from Christmas, he started doing things I thought that were just natural. It was him being him. It was him using his emotion, which is his greatest strength, and his competitive fire to speak from the heart, to go and just act as impulsively as he felt that this is what he would do. And the team became his in the second half of the year. And now it's funny. He walks around and you wouldn't even think that if you compared him now as a captain to the player he was 3 years ago in person he's the same person. He just knows what he's doing. He's going about it confidently because he knows he's the captain of the Bruins.
And how much does that help his game on the ice, you think?
I think it helps his game dramatically, because I find now that emotion that's such a great strength of his, he doesn't let it get to the emotional level as much as he used to.
Mm-hmm. So you have this great leadership core around him, and now you add some other strong leaders that have been in that spot before, like an Elias Lindholm. Nikita Zadorov has his own personality and voice that he brings to a team. How about this leadership group and the job they do assimilating some new voices into the room?
Yeah, I think they do a good job of making people feel comfortable. We all know that when players come here like Nikita and Elias have, first of all, it's not just them. It's their wives and their kids going to new schools, finding the new places to go to get, whether it's hair done, groceries, doesn't matter. Like, there's a lot going on. We let them get comfortable. We help them get comfortable. And then as the season goes on, organically, they're naturally going to become part of that leadership core throughout the season.
And one more on Brad. Just the amount of work that he had done this summer, he's still kind of slowly getting up to speed. How do you feel about where Brad is at with his game heading into the season?
I don't worry about Brad, and he worries about it more than anybody else, because it's what makes him great. He wants to be ultra prepared for the entire season and everything. He's not a player that believes in just relying on his natural God-given ability, which is immense. He knows he's got to work and he's got to out-battle, because that's what he's done to get to where he is. And with that, I think that's what makes him just a great captain for us.
I want to ask you about two young guys, one who really burst onto the scene and captured everyone's attention in the playoffs, Mason Lohrei. Did he surprise you at all with what he had, or did you know that was in him? Were you expecting that kind of contribution when he stepped in?
We knew the ability was there. What you don't know is how someone's going to love the big moment. And it was just great to see him own the moment and be immersed in it and loving every second of it. And it's why we're so excited about what he's going to be, not only this year, but for several years.
What is he going to be?
He's going to be a key part of our D-core, which we think is going to be our D-core starting this year is going to be something that I think sets the tone. I think people won't want to play against the Bruins because it's hard to get to their net. It's hard to get the puck off them because that D-core is so hard to play against. He's a big part of that. He's a 200-foot defenseman that has an offensive flair that not a lot of defensemen have.
So when you have some guys that may be ahead of him on the pecking order right now, how do you go about making sure that he gets the opportunity that he wants to grow into? Like you guys have a really stout group. Right?
Well, by communicating, right? Communicating to him how he's going to be used, what his role is, how he's going to help the team the most. And then also communicating to the other defensemen that there's going to be times where he's going to get an opportunity and that you guys may have to take a back seat. But that's the Bruins culture. It's all about what's the best for the Spoke B, what's the best for the team.
Now, I wanted to ask you about Matthew Poitras as well, and Obviously, the step that he took last year was a big one. How does he continue to build on that, and what are you most looking forward to about his game?
I'm looking forward to him maturing as a player. I think the offense is just going to continue to get better and better. I'm looking forward to becoming more of a 200-foot player. And then also him knowing how to manage games. That's part of the game where every player goes through it. You get away with stuff at lesser levels. Then when you get to the best league in the world, you learn when you're tired, maybe you just put it to a space where you can get a good change. Or your teammate needs you to stay on the ice so that they can get a change because they're really tired. And that's just the process of a young man that's really talented and competitive like him maturing within the game.
Now, when you look at your team on paper, you mentioned your defense core and how teams aren't going to like playing against you guys.
We don't want them to anyway.
Yeah, I don't think they will, especially with some of the size back there. Is this team, last year I used the term transition year. You guys made some big additions and you've got the core in place. Is this team better positioned this year to be successful than last? Do you feel this team's a little bit more complete? Is that fair to say?
It is fair to say. I think we are more complete. In the regular season, we might not be as good of a regular season team, but our goal is to get in the playoffs. I think that as we build throughout the year, with how big we are up front, we're faster up front. And I think we're going to be a team that takes pucks to the net with a lot more purpose than we did last year. It's going to lead towards, we hope, is playoff success.
All right, so let's wrap with this. I want you to finish the sentence for me. This season will be a success for the Boston Bruins if
we get to the third round.
That's what you have on your board? That's what you're...
You asked me a question. That's what came to my mind.
There you go. All right. Thanks so much for your time, Jim.
Thank you.
What's up, hockey fans? If you enjoyed that video, then you need to be hitting the subscribe button right here at Daily Faceoff. Exclusive interviews and analysis from our hockey insider Frank Saravalli, fantasy updates from Brock Sagan, and a daily live show at noon Eastern, Monday through Friday. You don't want to miss any of the fantastic content, so hit that subscribe button.